purpose of this Corning training video is to demonstrate the installation of the Corning FuseLite LC Splice-on connector for a 2mm or 3mm jacketed cable. Please remember to follow all proper safety procedures when working with fiber optic cables. The tools needed for this procedure are the jacket sheath remover, the 2-hole fiber stripper, your black ink pen, as well as your snits for cutting aramid yarns. You'll also need your lint-free wipes as well as your 90% or better isopropyl alcohol. The next piece of equipment you'll need is the fusion splicer. This is Corning's OptiSplice 1 fusion splicer. Ensure that you have acquired the proper fiber handlers prior to performing any operation. The splicer comes with the FBC 006H fiber cleaver. Now I will cover the features of the LC FuseLite Splice-on connector. The Corning FuseLite LC connector comes packaged in a blister pack such as this, which I've already removed all the components to describe each one to you. First, you have the ferrule subassembly, which has your factory cleaved fiber, and this long piece here is called the dust cap antenna, which will be removed at the end of the process. Then you have your heat shrink sleeve with integrated spring. You have your outer housing, which will go on last. And then you have your rear housing boot assembly with the furcation tube for the 2mm or 3mm furcation. Okay, so the first step is to insert the cordage through the rear furcation tube up through the rear housing assembly and slide it out of the way. And next what we're going to do is ring cut the cable. This is a 2mm cord, and notice I have it pushed up to the positive stop. So simply rotate the tool. Now I'll remove the jacket. Second step is separate the fiber from the aramid yarns, and we're going to slit the jacket long ways. So I'm placing it in the 2mm channel groove. Notice it's at the positive stop. Before I do anything else, I'm going to mark my 900 jacket at this point. That will be where I strip the 900 jacket off the 250 fiber. So now firmly grip the tool, the fiber, and pull away. So now you have cut the jacket into 2 halves. Now that you have the jacket, the split jacket, and the aramid yarns pulled back, now install the heat shrink sleeve over the 900 and push it down and out of the way. So next step, remove the 900 jacket to the mark that I made. And now the 250 protective coating. And then we'll clean the fiber. And then next step, we'll put it into the handler, which will then go into the fusion or into the cleaver. Make sure the 900 hits the positive stop and close the handler. Make sure you hold the aramid yarns and the jacket back out of the way and load the handler into the cleaver. Make sure it is fully seated. Gently press down the anvil, and we've cleaved our fiber and ready to install it in the machine. Make sure that you pull the jacket and the aramid yarns back out of the way and install the handler in the splice machine, making sure that you do not make contact with any object with the end face of the fiber. First thing I want to point out on the ferrule subassembly is the little black dot on the very top. This will ensure proper positioning in the handler. Position the subassembly in the handler. Make sure that it is positioned all the way up flush to the end and that the black dot is facing upward. Close the handler. So now we'll take the ferrule assembly and handler and install it in the machine. Make sure that it is snug in place and close the electrode flap. Next step is selecting the proper program. So to Splice Start, we go down to Programs, right arrow key. We want to highlight Single Mode Fiber, right arrow key, Universal Single Mode Fiber. One more time, and I will press Home and the green key. That's our altitude setting. And one last time, and start the splice process. So now that the splice is complete, raise the heat shrink clamps and lid and open the electrode flap and release the clamp for the filled fiber and release the clamp for the ferrule assembly. So keeping the fiber tight, you're going to transition the heat shrink sleeve into place, and then make sure that the heat shrink sleeve is centered in the oven as well as over the splice point, and close the lid. So once you get the audible alert, raise the clamp and the lids. Now keep in mind that the heat shrink sleeve is still hot, so wait a moment before you start final assembly. So the next step for the final building of the connector is you remove the rear boot, slide the cable stop back, remove the orange tab, discard it, and slide the stop further out of the way. So you want to pull the aramid yarns back through the housing. Be careful not to kink the fiber. And then pull the jacket halves back through the housing. Now next step is you're going to slide the rear housing up onto the heat shrink sleeve. Now slide the outer housing over the dust cap antenna. Make sure that the black dot on top of the ferrule housing is in line with the notch on the front housing, or the outer housing. Gently slide the pieces together and keep pushing until they lock together. Now we're going to slide up the rear cable stops. This will secure the two halves of the cable in place. So once you have the cable half securely in place on the rear of the housing, now bring up your aramid yarns and spread them around a little bit around the housing. Make sure you pull them taut. Now bring up the boot and furcation tube assembly and begin to thread the boot onto the rear of the housing. This is the method for strain relieving the cable with the aramid yarns. They are securely in place, locked into the threads. Next step is we need to remove the excess aramid yarns. So using your snips, remove the yarns. And it is okay if you have a little bit of excess sticking up. Last step, remove the antenna. And once again, this is your dust cap. Please keep your dust cap in place until you're ready to insert into a connector panel. That's it. If you have any questions or recommendations for videos, call us or send us an email at cablesystems@corning.com. Remember, Corning Cable Systems recommends getting properly trained in fiber optic installation. We offer a series of training classes. Thank you.